Welcome back to the Leaner, Stronger and Confident as Fuck podcast. Today's episode is a more personal one because I have just committed to the biggest fitness goal that I have set myself for years. It's possibly the biggest fitness goal that I've ever set myself, but I would say maybe on a par with it in the biggest challenge for myself would be when I did a marathon back in 2013, so a long time ago now. And that was a huge goal for myself. So it's definitely the biggest one since then. I'm really excited about it. And I am definitely a bit nervous as well, in a good way. And so the goal is this. I have just started a 7-month photo shoot prep. And this week is week 1 of the photo shoot prep. I am already so many things have been put in place this week, and I'm going to tell you about those on the episode. Now, this is a goal that I've had on my mind for a very, very long time, but it just hasn't felt the right time for me to go for it until now. And so in this episode, I'm going to share some behind the scenes on why I'm finally ready for this goal, what this prep really means to me, and how we have actually started it already. And I'm going to bring you along the whole journey for this 7-month process that I'm going through. I'm going to do some episodes on the podcast, and I'm going to be sharing lots on my IG as well. So if you don't follow me there already, say hello at Kathy Morton Fitness on Instagram. And I'm going live there right now for this episode. So if you're with me there live, hello. Now, my purpose of sharing this whole goal with you is not for you to then suddenly copy my macros or my training plan or anything like that. And in fact, please don't do that because these are personalized to my goals and my starting point. But I want to show you what is involved in a really in-depth transformation. And while you might not want to do a photo shoot yourself, if you are looking to change your body in some way to get leaner, stronger, and more confident in your own skin, then you can definitely apply the principles of what I'm going to be doing in this prep to your own journey, because it is the exact same principles. If you want to get what's called lifestyle lean, so you want to lose some fat, you want to tone up, you want to just build your most confident body, all of the things that I'm going to be doing, it's the exact same principles. But just if you're going to do something a slightly more extreme, like a photo shoot prep, then you need to be even more dialed in on all fronts. So like I'm saying, I'm not saying you need to go and copy the things that I'm going to be doing, but you can definitely use it as inspiration for your own journey and just start to think about ways that you can start leveling up your own journey to get your next level of results, whatever that means for you. So let's begin by starting why I am doing this now. Because like I said, this has actually been on my mind for years. And since I became a fitness coach, which was over a decade ago now, it's 2014 that I first became a personal trainer. And back then I always kind of had in my mind, I was like, do I want to do a bodybuilding show at some point? And the goals just never really appealed to me. The whole idea of getting on stage and of being as dialed in as you need to be to do a bodybuilding show has just never quite kind of grabbed me. And I'm a firm believer that if you are not going to love the process of getting to the goal that you want, then it's probably not the right goal for you. And so the people that I've seen that have been really successful with bodybuilding shows and things like that, they have loved the lifestyle of it and loved how dialed in they needed to be for that. And so a few years ago though, I was like, I don't quite want to take things to that bodybuilding level, but the idea of doing a fitness photo shoot where you really do challenge yourself and you get yourself into that next level of your physique that you've never achieved before, but there's no kind of getting on stage and being judged at the end of it. Instead, you sign up to get a photo shoot and, you pay for a photo shoot, you choose your photographer and you get some photos to kind of document what you have achieved. That really started to appeal to me. However, for the last 5 years, I have moved around a lot. If anyone who's watching this has been in my world for a while, you will know that in the last 5 years, I have moved back and forth between Australia and England several times. So I was born in England. I'm currently back in England now, but I am also now an Australian citizen. I've lived in Australia mostly for the last 15 years. And over the last few years, my husband and I have been going back and forth seeing more of our family, and since we took our businesses online, wanting to just kind of like explore and do more kind of travel and have that sense of freedom. And we also did some digital nomad stints. So I spent time in places like Serbia, Albania, Romania, Portugal, living there for like a few months, working from there, and just like enjoying exploring the world, which was fantastic for my lifestyle. But that's not really very good if you want to kind of be super dialed in, because one of the best things about that travel was going and eating out all the time, and we were just eating out constantly, and I was still training and getting my steps in and all of those things. But if you want to do something like the goal that I've just committed to, you really do need to be like stable and really focused. And so there was always been this sense of like, I knew that we were going to go and move somewhere again. And so it was never the right time for me to commit, because I know what is required for the goal that I have. So now we have come back to London, and we think we're going to be settled, certainly until next summer. I was like, this is the time. I don't know a kind of like 7-month stretch where I'm not going to be moving somewhere in the future again. And so I was like, this is the time. I am doing it now. And so the reason that I have been so drawn to this is because I really I love the structure that all of the habits that I have cemented in my life give me. And I knew that I was ready to unlock that next level. And I also knew that if I didn't set myself like a goal, which had a specific deadline, that I would not have a big enough why of actually doing the things that I needed to do to take myself to the next level. And so I've decided to do my photo shoot next June, because that is my 43rd birthday. And so it's a present to myself to take my physique to the next level for my 43rd birthday. And I'm just, so excited about it. But like I said, I'm definitely a little bit nervous too. And there's a quote that I heard from Joe Vitale, who's one of the people in The Secret. And he said, a good goal should scare you a little and excite you a lot. And this is really what it signifies to me. It's something that's going to challenge me. It's going to get me to level up into that next level of like structure and precision that I am definitely ready for. And I also feel like when I have considered goals in the past, certainly like years ago in my fitness journey, when I was still struggling with kind of like being as consistent as I wanted to be, I was still not able to create the results that I wanted. This is like going back like kind of 10 years, even when I first became a personal trainer. And I kept often thinking about, should I go on a bodybuilding show or something like that, to force myself to kind of like take on the habits that I was trying to cement. And in my opinion, that's like the wrong way to go about like a fat loss phase or a goal like that, to try and use it to fix a problem. And this is why I feel so ready for this goal now, because my habits are like completely solid. And I say that not to brag, but because it's possible for everyone if you give yourself enough time and repetition of doing it. Because I have just been practicing my habits for so long that they are just very automated for me now. And so I have that solid baseline in place that now I am ready for that next level. I'm not using this next level goal to try and fix where I'm at. I'm looking at it to kind of stretch myself, to grow myself even further. So it's coming from like a very positive space. And this is something that I offer to everyone who is considering a fat loss phase, either whether they're about to go into one, although, if you listen to my episode last week, I don't always recommend that for this time of year in the festive season. But let's say you're going to do a fat loss phase next year. The best way to go into a successful cut is to do it from a place of already having your foundations solid. And that's why with pretty much like most of I would say like 95% of my clients, the first phase that we focus on is optimizing our habits and optimizing things like our training and nutrition, knowing how to fuel our bodies well, dialing in our habits of good sleep, of stress, of eating mostly whole foods. If you do that from a solid place of being in maintenance, then when you go into a fat loss phase, literally the only thing you're doing is like reducing your calories a bit and maybe kind of like dialing in a few things a little bit more, but you're not trying to overhaul everything to be able to create the result. And that's what I see so many people go wrong with. It's what I did myself as well in the past, is try to use a diet to fix a bunch of problems that would actually be best worked on in maintenance. Because when you go into a fat loss phase, you're in a more stressed state. It is a stressor on the body to take away calories. And so people are trying to fix all these things when they are hungry, when they are trying to kind of like get a specific result. And it's better to do that from a more grounded place. So like I said, I feel as if I have already done so much work on that I have this great baseline on which to continue with. And so I'm committed to doing this photo shoot 7 months out from the date that I am going to do the photo shoot. I haven't locked in the exact date yet, but I know when my birthday is. It's 16th of June. And so it's going to be just like before that. And so I'm going, and I will like probably lock it in at the beginning of like the new year, but I know it's going to be like beginning to middle of June. And there was definitely a part of me still that was like, maybe I will sign up with a coach in January because then I will be able to, you know, continue to enjoy more flexibility with maintenance and stuff before Christmas. And then I was like, had to do a little talk to myself and be like, no, the more time you give yourself, the better the result. And that again is what I share with everyone. Like the more time you give yourself, the better. And like I have been dialing in maintenance myself for the last 2 years, really. I've like spent the majority of time in maintenance, dialing in my habits, focusing on building muscle and, you know, really kind of nailing like the skill of balance, being able to maintain, have some flexibility with my lifestyle. And so I really feel ready to actually also kind of like tighten things up a bit, take them to the next level, even in kind of like the maintenance phase I'm starting with right now, because I'm going to still be able to have some flexibility up until Christmas, but I am going to be more dialed in. And I was just like, I'm not going to wait. I'm not going to wait because I know the more time you give yourself, especially for physique results, the better. And I want to be always ahead rather than kind of like feeling like I haven't given myself enough time. And so the photo shoot prep for me really signifies just like a challenge that is going to require an up level in my identity, in my like consistency, in my approach. And it's something that's like, for me, it's like, yeah, I'm like excited to see what look I create, but it's less about the aesthetics for me. And it's more about the like discipline and the structure and the self-leadership that's going to be involved in actually creating the result that I want. And that's something that I truly love about anything to do with fitness and nutrition. When you really just like start to love the process of physique transformation, and this doesn't have to be taking things to the level that I'm necessarily going to take them to, but just even in the process of losing fat and building muscle and going through a full transformation cycle where you're not just on a diet and off a diet, you're actually focusing on priming your body for fat loss, going into a strategic cut, focusing on the skill of maintenance, building muscle, repeating through that transformation cycle. This is going to teach you so much about yourself. It's as much a mindset game as it is the physical game. And also, you know, to get the feel great in this process, you're really dialing in the habits of health as well. And that's, again, something that I absolutely just love about the whole, just learning more about fitness and nutrition and applying it to my own body as well. So how I have approached this goal, for the first thing that I did was I got myself a coach. I have worked with coaches off and on in the past for my own physique work, and I haven't had one for a while because I have, like I said, I've been moving around all over the place and it's not really been like my main focus. I've been focused on growing my business. I've been focused on traveling. I've been focused on being able to, use my own knowledge and expertise to continue to make progress. And like I said, I've been really focused on building muscle and dialing in my training and building that kind of really, really solid foundation. And I knew that I could do all of that like by myself. But because this goal is going to require me to take things to a whole other level that I've never reached before, I was like, I am getting accountability and support in order to be able to do that. Because like, yes, none of what we have planned out so far is any different to what I would have thought about myself in terms of if I was going to coach myself through it. But I also know what my weaknesses are. I know what areas as well I want to improve. And having outside perspective is so helpful because we can't see our own blind spots. And so I am very aware as well that because I am currently at a level with my physique where I am very happy, which is an amazing thing for me to even be able to say, because there was a time, about 2 decades, that I could not say that. I was very unhappy and always feeling like I was dissatisfied with my body, a whole bunch of, that's probably an episode for another day, or go back to one of my previous ones about my challenges with all of that area. But I've been very happy and confident in my body for a good few years now. But because of that, to be able to take things further in a fat loss phase and to get to a level of leanness that I'm going for with this photo shoot, I know that I want extra accountability for that, because I know that I work well with accountability. And this is what I say to so many people all the time. It's like, if you are someone who works well with accountability, get some. And you can, of course, do that with asking a friend to be, hold you accountable and things like that. But if not, get yourself a coach. It's no surprise to me that my one-on-one clients, they all get absolutely amazing results because we work so closely together and there's such a high level of accountability and support. And then my group clients, the ones who have more intrinsic accountability, who, they will follow through on the targets that we set. They don't need, that kind of like much higher level of support, because in a group program, it's not something that, is possible for, compared to like a one-on-one. They are the ones who still get amazing results in that group environment. And they're still willing to ask for support when they need in that group environment and things like that. But the people who don't get as good results in that group environment are the ones who really do need a bit more accountability. And I know for myself, because I, like I said, I've been like content with my physique for a long time. In fat loss, when things get tough, I'm like, am I actually really that fussed about it? And then I'm like, nah, not really. And so for this, I know that like I want to set a big goal with a deadline, and I have a big why, and I'm telling everyone about it as well. So, I'm putting myself on the hook, and I'm getting that extra layer of accountability and support because I know that I'm going to lean on it when things get tough, because they are going to get tough at certain points for sure. So over the next 7 months, the plan is going to look like I said, this is not a 7-month diet to get myself into photo shoot shape. This is exactly the same process that I referred to earlier if you want your own body transformation. We are focusing, first of all, on a primer phase. So that means I'm at maintenance right now, and we are just dialing in all the things that I just listed before. Focusing more on my training. We're focusing on like training quality. So I'm going to actually share a little bit more about this in a moment. We're dialing everything in more. I'm just going to give the brief overview first. Dialing in everything, going through a primer phase, focusing on seeing if we can get some body recomp going on while at maintenance, or being kind of like slightly under maintenance. And then we've planned out for, I think it's actually maybe like, I can't remember exactly how many weeks. It's like somewhere between 16 and 20 weeks for fat loss, I think, at the start, well, not at the start of next year, but like next year leading up towards June with the date of the photo shoot. And so the first part is not focused on fat loss. The first part is focused on building muscle, on making sure my body is really optimized to be super healthy, so that when we go into fat loss, the results are going to be much more predictable and consistent, as well as the fact that I don't need 7 months to be able to lose the fat that I will want to lose for the the photo shoot. And I also, just like everyone else in the world, I have much more social things going on at this time of year with the festive season. And so I'm going to, enjoy that with more flexibility, with higher calories. And then when we're kind of like 4 to 5 months out from the photo shoot, that's when everything is going to be much more dialed in and we'll be focusing on that fat loss piece. And just if we think as well about the macro level of what bodybuilders do to change their physique, some of them do allow like up to 6 months for like a fat loss like phase to give themselves the time and the space to be able to get to the level of leanness that they need to get on stage. But then typically after they've gone on stage, they have like two years where they then focus on what they call an improvement season, where they focus on building muscle, on dialing, all of the rest of the stuff and even more to be able to then have something to reveal in the next fat loss phase. And that's something that I will just continue to reiterate over and over and over again until it really sinks in. Because it took a long time for it to sink in for me back when I was really struggling with this stuff. That instead of thinking that your best physique is going to come from the next fat loss phase, think about what you were doing in between fat loss phases, because it's the time that you're actually building your physique. If you are focusing on training well, if you're focusing on fueling your body, if you are focusing on dialing in your habits, if you are either just on a diet or off a diet, and in that off a diet thing, you're just doing whatever you want, you're not going to have anything different to reveal the next time you go back on another diet. And so that's something that's like, if you spend more time priming your body for the result that you want, things will be hugely different. So I'm very excited to share all the updates with you as I go through this. I'm going to be sharing the progress, the challenges, the times when I probably want to quit, and all the things in between. And really kind of like, the things that I'm doing so that you can then take the principles and apply them to your own journey. Like I said, it's not about then just like copying what anyone else is doing in terms of macros or steps or workouts or whatever, because all of us have a different like physique. We have different goals. We also have different starting points, which is crucial. So it all needs to be tailored to you, but the principles do not change. And so you're going to be able to kind of take inspiration from the things that I'm going to be sharing, if you choose, of where you can level up in your own journey. Because something that I hear from so many women when they come to me feeling stuck is that they feel like they're doing everything right. They are tracking their food, they're eating clean, they are doing some like strength workouts, maybe they're doing loads of cardio, they're doing some steps, they're eating high protein, and they're like, why are things not changing? And those things are all important parts of a body's transformation, but it's how you apply them and in what order you apply them and the level that you apply them in that actually are the things that create the change. So many people end up just dieting all the time, or their strength workouts and not actually building muscle when they think they are, or they're so focused on high protein, but they're not taking into account the amount of calories they're having, or they're not fueling their bodies with enough carbs to be able to train effectively, or they are just, like I said, just kind of permanently trying to think, eat less, move more, and just doing that for an entire year. And that's not actually how you create a transformation. A transformation is best approached in phases, and when your nutrition and your training is matched to, like I said, your starting point and your goal. So mindset is going to be a big part of the journey for me as well. And I really spent the last few years really kind of going heavy into my own mindset, being stronger in myself, thinking about how I wanted to really kind of like change some habits that I used to have. For example, I used to say that I was going to do something and then just like not do it. And I really have like shifted that behavior. I used to be someone who would go back on my word all the time, and I've really done a lot of internal work to change that. And there's going to be mindset struggles for sure along the way, but feel like I've also developed some skills to be able to work through them. It's not going to be perfect. I'm not saying that like, oh, I've got all these things nailed. No, it's going to be a journey, and I'm going to be open and sharing all of the things. So like I said, that's why I have support and a coach to help me through it too. And that's something that I speak to just like so many clients about in terms of, you know, with my one-on-one coaching or in my group program, Lean Body Blueprint. So much of what we discuss is mindset work. Just did a big training in Lean Body Blueprint, which was my group program last week, just about how to ditch that all or nothing behavior and like strategies to become the person who actually makes the result that you want to stick, because that is actually what's required. It's not about just like white knuckling it through a bunch of behaviors. It's starting to shift how you see yourself in relation to the goal. So I'm going to give you a very brief overview of the things that have already been put in place in the last week. So I only said yes to this goal and signed up with this coach last Thursday. This is Wednesday that I am recording this, and we officially kind of started on Monday, but I was doing like some prep for it over the weekend. So what we have done is we've really focused on being even more consistent across the board with my movement and my nutrition. And one of my one-on-one clients said to me, she was like, how are you going to dial things in even more? Because I feel like you're already doing all of those things. And like I said, this is something I've learned, again, through trial and error, is that there is always another level. People who are going to step on a stage and be a bodybuilder are going to be taking things to another level that I'm not going to be doing in the next like few months. And there is always another level. And that's what it is. It's not about suddenly doing a whole bunch of random things. Like I'm not going to start, I don't know, fasting or wearing a weighted vest, for example. I'm going to do the foundations, but just better. So for example, I for the last few years, I've been training 3 times a week, full body, and I'm going up to a 4-day split. Now, this is going to just allow me to do a little bit more volume in like the different muscle groups. Now, I have made great progress in the last couple of years by doing 3 full body sessions a week and executing them well. So 3 full body sessions work fantastic for people. 4-day split also works great for people. I'm moving into a 4-day split. So I'll do 2 upper days, 2 lower days. And for the last few years, I've just been tracking calories and protein. This again is what most of my clients do as well, because for the majority of results, that is enough. Like I said, it gives more. I got great results in the last few years by just doing that myself. But now we're going to take things to this next level. The next level for me is I'm going to be hitting all 3 macros. So my protein has gone up a bit, and like I'm eating a similar amount of calories actually to what I was eating before, because I've been working on maintenance myself. I am doing 2 cardio sessions a week to start off with, 2 20-minute steady state cardio sessions. This is something I've done sporadically over the last couple of years, but because again, I've been traveling so much, cardio was always the first thing to go for me, but we're establishing a pattern and habit of doing that on a regular basis. And I've also been sending my coach training videos. And this is something that we're going to continue to work on, because something that has massively helped me make progress in the last couple of years is really taking my training to dialing in my training effectiveness. And I know so many people don't really understand the intensity and the progression that is required to be able to actually grow muscle. This is something that was missing massively from my own awareness for a long time. And when I see other people's training technique videos, when clients send them to me, it's something that, again, you can't necessarily see it for yourself, because you're like, oh yeah, I think I'm pushing hard. But it's like, no, you definitely had more in you to get to the level of intensity required to build muscle, because it's the last couple of reps before failure where you get the most opportunity for muscle growth. And most people aren't getting there frequently enough to be able to see the progress that they want. And while I've done a lot of work in that in the last couple of years myself, and the first thing my coach said to me was like, you've definitely got a good foundation of muscle. So I was like, great, what I have been doing has been working, but I know that there's still another level. And so he's been, giving me some feedback already about how I can improve my form, because again, it's like you can't see yourself all the time. And sometimes I do film myself to check, but not enough. And so, again, it's like having that structure and having that outside eyes is going to help take that even further. So we're going to do that so that we can really push for some more muscle growth in the next few months. And I'm still doing the same amount of steps that I have been doing previously. I do 12,000 steps a day. But one change actually is that normally I do a 12,000 steps average across the whole week. So say, for example, like Monday is normally my busiest day of like check-ins and things. So sometimes I only get maybe 9,000 steps on a Monday typically. And then I make it up like across the rest of the week because I do it as that 12K average. But my goal now is to do 12K across the entire week as a consistent baseline. And so that's something, like I said, it's nothing different. It's just doing the things I was doing better. And with tracking, I'm being mega accurate with my tracking, and rinsing and repeating meals. It's exactly what I was doing anyway. Whole foods, but I've got some, I'm eating a bit of chocolate each day still. That's still fitting into the plan. And so I'm just being super duper accurate basically. And again, it's nothing different to what I was doing before, but just doing these things more dialed in. So I would love for you to sit with if you're looking to take your results to the next level, what inspiration can you take from what I've shared so far about what are you doing right now that you could work on to just kind of make that, the accuracy or the form or the quality of what you're doing even better? Could you, for example, focus on tracking more accurately? That would just change so much for so many people when it comes to your food. Could you make sure that you are definitely getting your protein goal every single day of the week rather than, being a bit up and down around it during the week? Could you make sure that you are focusing on your training form as well? These would be really, really beneficial things for you to work on, whether your goal is fat loss or muscle building right now, or simply maintenance. So I am excited to share everything with you as we continue to go through this journey together. Like I said, I am literally 3 days in and I feel like already so much has happened. And if you are ready for your own transformation as well, you're ready to level up your journey, whatever that looks like to you, whether that is just simply going through this holiday season with more confidence, building muscle, coming into January, feeling like you're already ahead rather than feeling like you've got to kind of undo a bunch of things, which is how, unfortunately, so many people are going to start the new year. Whether you are ready to actually prime your body for a fat loss phase next year by optimizing your habits, by dialing in all the things I've already covered so far, or whether you're ready to go through that full transformation cycle of priming your body, fat loss, maintenance, muscle building, and repeating until you get your ultimate physique, or you just want to learn more about strength training and fueling your body, then make sure you check out the links in the show notes below for coaching options. We have one-on-one coaching where you do get that highest level of accountability and support. And there is my group coaching program, Lean Body Blueprint, as well. Doors for that next intake of group coaching are opening again in January, but one-on-one you can start any time. So thank you so much for joining me for this episode. It's been awesome to share it with you, and I will continue to do so as I go through.